This is Sky News at Breakfast. Coming up, Captain's orders will speak to the CEO of one of the world's largest ship managers, who's demanding governments do more to help stranded seafarers sail home. Hundreds of thousands of seafarers have been stranded at sea around the world because of COVID-19 restrictions in recent months. Workers would usually be at sea for between 6 and 9 months, but many have now been away from home for far longer, unable to disembark at certain ports due to lockdown rules. Our correspondent Enda Brady reports.
This was a show of solidarity at sea. Ships all over the world sounding their horns in unison.
Well, I'm joined now by the founder and chief executive officer of Synergy Marine Group, Captain Rajesh Unni. Good morning to you. Explain to us in your own words the problems that seafarers are experiencing during this COVID pandemic.
Morning, Julian. Thank you for having me on the show. Morning, everyone. The thing is that most of us, like you and me, have endured this, entire lockdown, sitting in the comfort of our homes and with our families. Now you have seafarers who are far away from their homes, far away from their families, working in a very high-risk, harsh environment, and then dealing with uncertainty. It's not easy. It's, I think, a safety issue and is a mental well-being issue. There are 300,000 seafarers stuck out there who have no clue on when and how they will get back to their families. And now you're asking them to perform tasks which are very high risk. And, there are a lot of processes and everything that's built. But if you're not in the mental state that can handle this, then you're expecting that it could turn up into a catastrophe. So I think it's a mental well-being issue. It's a safety issue. And I feel it's morally wrong for us to expect them to perform indefinitely and to deal with this uncertainty, because human body is not wired to deal with such uncertainty. And we have people who have lost their parents, their spouses, and are not being able to come back home to see them one final time. And it's not easy in such a state to expect them to perform for 12, 13 months, not knowing when they will get back home and see their families. So it's a lot of stress, and it's not a good place to be in. We've been, as an industry, trying to tell that it's a ticking time bomb. And let's not wait for a catastrophe or, a large marine accident for us to wake up. This is what I think.
You mentioned the safety aspect. What exactly do you mean by that? Can you elaborate a bit?
So we generally on the ships, we work in very harsh environments, whether it is gale force winds or a stormy weather or, carrying cargoes that are dangerous. And then you're expected that you perform these tasks safely and you're navigating in, say, close quarter, narrow, congested waters. We all know that accident happens in spite of a long training and momentary lapse. So when you are on those ships, when you're on the bridge or in the engine room and dealing with such uncertainty, it could happen normally that you will have a momentary lapse. And then the result is a large casualty. So I don't think that we can fall back in training for too long, because we need to deal with this uncertainty as quickly as possible.
You also mentioned that some of the seafarers might have lost family members on land. Highly emotionally stressful for them being away from the situation. Is there any counselling available? Is there actual mental health addressed at all?
So as Synergy, we had started this, many years ago. We had a case of a suicide or someone that we lost at sea. And then we found that the numbers are alarming. But now we started a service called iCall with the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. And we opened it up for the entire community. But now we see that ever since the COVID, the number of calls to these counseling centers have increased. And I've been told, even though it's very anonymous, that there have been cases where they have had to make interventions on board to prevent, suicidal tendencies. So it is a mental well-being issue, and we are trying to scale this program across now.
What exactly would you like to happen? I mean, what could ease the burden for seafarers?
So as an industry, I think not just Synergy, I'm just speaking on behalf of everyone, we are united on this. We have created protocols that have been successful. We have demonstrated that carefully we can manage crew changes at key destinations. Now the bigger challenge now, we build protocols and we send this to member nations. The key challenge is unless you have air connectivity on a consistent basis, that is very difficult to plan and it's impossible to comply with these protocols. Secondly, the consulates are shut down in most of the crew supplying nations. So if we term them as key workers, then we must walk the talk. We must help them to have visa on arrival status. We must help them to go through safe corridors so that they can get to their place of work and get back home safely, which is a fundamental human rights issue, as much as we want the supply chain to be operational.
Yes, indeed. We'd want them to get home safely. Captain Rajesh Unni, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you for your support.